What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about 10 British films that changed cinema forever. You know, I'm very interested in this topic because I really haven't seen many British films that I'm aware of. But in contrast, I think British people get a lot of exposure to American movies. So it's kind of one-sided, and it kind of explains why us Americans don't know that much about British culture. That's something we could maybe learn about growing up watching movies, but it's all American movies that we watch. We don't get exposed to a lot of these British movies, I think. So anyway, with that being said, let's take a look. These are 10 really important British films that changed cinema. So let's see.
For this list, we take a look at some of the British masterpieces that have influenced cinema worldwide and forever changed the way we experience movies.
Oh,
It's
wow.
all right, Mrs. Wilberforce. Everything's under control. Goodbye.
Oh,
Number 10, Dr. No.
Dr. No. Isn't this James Bond? Is James Bond British? Wait a minute. No, stop. This makes me look very silly. Because I haven't seen the older James Bond stuff. I haven't seen much James Bond in general. I think I've seen some of the new James Bond movies, but it's played by Daniel Craig, who is an American in that film. So James Bond is British. Is that right? How did I not know this? I feel like a lot of well, I don't know. There's Americans who probably know James Bond a lot better than me, but that's like, that's a household name. That's like a really, really big franchise. It's British. Okay.
There had been attempts to bring Ian Fleming's 007 to the big screen before this, but Dr. No is the first Eon Productions effort and widely regarded as the first true Bond movie.
Wow. Oh my gosh. If, James Bond came out of Britain, this is huge. This is one of the most successful, movie franchises, most beloved characters, ever. One of the most famous, at least, I might not know that much about James Bond, I'll admit. And I'm a little surprised I didn't know he was British. I would think that would, I don't know. I would think I would have picked that up somewhere along the line. But yeah, this is, okay. This is big.
Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
Introducing Sean Connery as the iconic super spy, Bond has become one of the world's most recognizable and influential film characters.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? Looking for shells?
No, I'm just looking.
And ever since this historic introduction, the secret agent has battled larger-than-life villains with guns, gadgets, cars, and catchphrases to shape the series and define the spy thriller genre in general.
Ahoy, Mr. Bond! Ahoy, Mr. Bond!
I'm trying to think, because it's so obvious now if you've seen any of these Sean Connery films, which I have not. But with the newer ones, with Daniel Craig, I've definitely seen one or two of those. Did he have a British accent? Is it possible I went the entire movie without thinking about it? It's possible. It's just never crossed my mind.
Well, what's the matter? Do you need help?
Number 9,
Huh.
Hamlet. Lawrence
Oh, Hamlet. This is a very, very famous play, right? I don't know all that much about it. I think we were forced to read this in high school in America. Most Americans know, the word Hamlet, although I didn't know it was British.
Olivia's Hamlet still sets the benchmark for any cinematic Shakespeare adaptation.
I shall in all my best obey you, madam.
Why, it is a loving and a fair reply.
This version of the famous play is one of the most firmly planted in popular consciousness, particularly noted for Olivia's tense rendition of the to be or not to be monologue, as well as some lavish settings and standout performances from the entire cast.
Oh, so this is specifically a movie, a British-made rendition of Hamlet. That's very groundbreaking. Okay. Oh! Whoa!
The Bard still stands as inspiration
Okay.
for storytellers everywhere, and Olivia was a master at translating the playwright for film.
A villain kills
Okay.
my father, and for that I, his sole son, do this.
Yeah, I mean, these are like very historical and obviously very impactful when they came out. I don't feel too bad, like, in all fairness, like, that I've never seen this older black and white version of British-made Hamlet. That makes sense to me. The James Bond is still irking me a little bit that I didn't know that.
Same villain sent to heaven.
Number 8, A Hard Day's Night.
Oh!
The Beatles certainly changed pop music forever, and
Yeah.
they impacted film too.
Hey, mister, can we have our ball back?
A Hard Day's Night rewrote the boundaries between music and the movies.
Man, this is cool. I am a big Beatles fan, although I've never seen A Hard Day's Night. Of course, man, there's a lot of American British fans, so this might be a British movie that many Americans may have actually had a chance to see, or the desire to see. Yeah, well, this kind of is a crossover between films that changed history and in just a band that changed history.
Take your tongue away. It looks disgusting hanging out all pink and naked. And one slip of the razor and...
Capturing the Beatles at the height of their fame in a whirlwind of cinematic inventiveness, Richard Lester directs an all-encompassing extravaganza, giving fresh insight on the Fab Four as they travel from Liverpool to a televised gig in London.
I was gonna say, what is this even about? What is this film about? It's like a behind the scenes kind of thing. I know they were quite the characters in real life, like pretty interesting guys.
I now declare this bridge open.
Hilarious shenanigans ensue, and the soundtrack second to none.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, okay. Huh.
Number 7, The 39 Steps.
39 Steps, okay. You know, most of this stuff so far, I'm pleased to say I've at least heard of. Bond, Hamlet, Hard Day's Night, The Beatles. I've never, ever heard of the 39 Steps.
Alfred Hitchcock reached the peak of his fame while working in the US, thanks to classics including Rear Window and Psycho.
Right.
But Hitchcock's work began in Britain, and the 39 Steps could be considered as the apex of the first half of the director's career.
Really?
Quite true. Listen, they're spies, foreigners. They've murdered a woman in my flat, and now they're waiting for me.
I didn't know that Alfred Hitchcock was... Is he British? Or was he just working in Britain? I don't know. But that's kind of a household name, Alfred Hitchcock, although I'll admit I don't really know anything about him, and I don't think I've really seen his movies.
Regarded as a masterpiece by the likes of Orson Welles, the edge-of-the-seat story of espionage and murder proved one of the most important and influential thrillers of the century, becoming
wow.
Hitchcock's first great spy movie.
The 39 Steps is an organization of spies,
Huh.
collecting information on behalf of the Foreign Office of...
What?
Number
it's a spy movie, of all things. Okay. Okay, what's this?
6, The Lady Killers.
The Lady Killers. 1955. This almost sounds familiar. Ugh. The Lady Killers? I've definitely never seen it.
From famed Ealing Studios, the home of classic British comedy, comes one of the wittiest, most brilliant, and best-known productions in the genre,
Really?
often described as one of the greatest British films ever made.
Really?
Wilberforce.
Yes?
I understand you have rooms to let.
Oh my.
Sporting an exceptional cast,
Oh my.
including fan favourite Alec Guinness and the legendary Peter Sellers, The Lady Killers follows the misadventures of 5 oddball criminals and the old lady from whom they're renting rooms by pretending to be musicians.
This is like a comedy. This is a British comedy. No way. I had no idea. I've heard the name Lady Killers. I don't even know if it was related to a movie or film, but this is kind of cool. Like an old famous, like one of the most famous British comedies.
Stop that!
A laugh-out-loud black comedy, it has inspired countless films ever since.
Darling, I am missing you.
Okay.
Number 5, Lawrence of Arabia.
This one I've definitely heard the name of. That's going to be the theme for today, I think. It's a lot of stuff I've heard the name of, but never seen, never really knew it was a movie, never knew it was related to British culture. And that's kind of sad in a way, because these are like some of the most important, most impactful British films ever. And like, I think me and many Americans just have no idea. Like, never seen it. But I've at least heard the name and always been like, what is that?
What is it, Major Lawrence, that attracts you personally to the desert? It's clean.
This essential historical drama based on the life and writings of T.E. Lawrence, an esteemed British officer in World War I, is a first port of call for fans of British film.
Good army
Okay.
compass. How if I take it?
Then you would be a thief.
David Lean, who at the time of shooting had already directed another great British war epic, The Bridge on the River Kwai, builds upon the complex man at the centre of the story with grand visuals and masterful performances from a star-studded cast.
Interesting. So it's about a guy named Lawrence, and he goes to Arabia? Not exactly sure technically where that is, to be honest. And it's like has to do with war, and I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what this is about.
It's an epic, and then some. Number 4, Blow Up.
Blow Up. Never heard of it. Never heard. Like no idea. No.
Michelangelo Antonioni's finest foray into British cinema makes for one of the most beautiful and unnerving films ever set in London.
Huh.
It's not my fault if there's no peace. You know, most girls would pay me to photograph them.
A complex and challenging piece of art, with its explicit depictions of sex and drug use, this film directly contributed to the abolition of the production.
Oh my. So this was really like pushing the boundaries a little bit, a little progressive. This is 1966.
Code in America, a set of moral guidelines for US movies which stood until 1968.
Yes!
Wait, this actually like changed the guidelines of what films you can show, like in America?
Moral guidelines for
Wait, what?
to the abolition of the production code in America, a set of moral guidelines for US movies which stood until 1968.
Yes!
Huh.
Yes!
Charting a day in the life of a fashion photographer who believes he may have captured a murder on film, Blow Up proved counterculture perfection and remains a favourite for cinephiles worldwide.
What did you see in that part?
Interesting. I've never heard of it before. Sounds interesting. And it obviously, like all these films, kind of changed. It pushed the envelope a little bit of what was acceptable or expected. So that's cool.
Nothing.
Number 3, The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp.
The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. What a title? Never heard of it. Have all British people out there, have you heard of all these films? And better yet, have you seen all of these? Are these films that, you see throughout your lifetime in Britain, or that in school maybe they show this to you? Because now in the back half of this list, like I'm completely drawing a blank. I've never heard of The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp.
Of all the masterclasses the Powell and Pressburger duo has given us, this was probably the most controversial, at least at the time of release.
But in 1983, at least I shall be able to say that 40 years ago, I was a Fellow of Enterprise.
Earning heavy disapproval from the 1940s UK government, which didn't understand its particular shade of patriotism, the life and death of Colonel Blimp remains an unparalleled parable on love, friendship, war, and what it means to be English.
Interesting. What it means to be English. And this was kind of, I don't know, misunderstood in its time? By the government? Or...
It's probably not as well known as The Red Shoes or Black Narcissus, but Powell and Pressburger ranked it as one of their best. And we wholeheartedly agree.
Money lost its value. The price of everything rose, except of human beings.
Number 2, A Clockwork Orange.
A Clockwork Orange! A Clockwork Orange! I have seen this. It's British. Those guys with the weird big nose masks that are terrifying. They're British, that's right. I've seen a British film. I just didn't remember. It's been a while. This is a scary movie. Scary film. Disturbing. Very disturbing. I think a lot of Americans have seen this film. A lot of Americans know this film. This might be the most, famous one on this whole list. We still have one more to go after this, but this is very popular in America. And I'm pretty sure this changed cinema. Like, this is very, very well known.
A watershed moment for mainstream cinema, A Clockwork Orange is, at its core, a very British film.
Wow!
The Durango 95 poured away real horror show. A nice, warm, vibrating feeling all through your gutty woods.
True director...
That's right. It's very British. I'd forgotten about this.
Stanley Kubrick was American, but by 1971 he was working exclusively in Britain, also going on to make one of the UK's finest period dramas in Barry Lyndon. But Clockwork Orange gives a grotesque and unique focus to violence, freedom and control, which, though it was banned for decades, brought a brand new emphasis and direction to film.
Banned? This film was banned? For decades? Where? How? I'm not totally shocked. This is a crazy film.
A wide-ranging rule breaker, it forced international conversations on censorship and the relationship between crime, psychology, and the media.
I've taught you much, my little droogies. Now tell me what you had in mind, Georgie boy.
Number 1, The Third Man.
Okay, and sure enough, number 1, The Third Man. I've never heard of this. So A Clockwork Orange, to me, stands out in this list as is there one of these that Americans have seen? There's probably other Americans that have seen Dr. No, the James Bond, at the beginning. I might be a little strange that I haven't. But A Clockwork Orange sticks out as the one most Americans have seen. The Third Man, I've never heard of this.
The purpose of your visit here? A friend of mine offered me a job here.
Universally recognized as a definitive film in its genre, The Third Man is the epitome of film noir.
Honest, sensible, sober, harmless Holly Martins. Holly. What a silly name.
Written by Graham Greene, one of the most English authors of the 20th century, and directed by Carol Reed, it stars Orson Welles in one of his most memorable and menacing performances.
In Switzerland, they had brotherly love. They had 500 years of democracy and peace, and what did that produce? The cuckoo clock.
Set in post-World War II Vienna, The Third Man sports an expressionist black and white look, which would go on to inspire generations of film noir cinematographers, as well as countless contemporary classics.
He's the man I told you was missing.
It's interesting, because it's my knee-jerk reaction is to be oh, this looks boring, this looks lame, black and white, everyone's talking so much, and it's kind of sad, actually, how I think movies today are, so fast-paced, so built around our short attention spans, that, iconic movies like this, The Third Man, by today's standards, I bet a lot of people don't give it much of a chance, even though it seems to have been really, really important.
Next time we'll have a foolproof coffin.
Do you agree?
Interesting. Interesting. This whole list was very interesting, actually. This was fun. It's kind of like a quick little British film class. Most of these I've never even heard of, to be honest. But, you know, for different reasons, these have changed the course of cinema forever, and I can see why. It's kind of crazy how here in America, we really just don't get that much exposure to British content. British TV shows, British films. Whereas, again, in Britain, I think you get lots of exposure if you want. You can watch all sorts of American movies or TV, and yeah, it seems a little one-sided in that respect. And I think, as Americans, we're missing out a bit, actually, because of that. So this was a lot of fun to actually learn all about these things that I kind of missed out on. So anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on these British films. If you've seen them, if you've heard of them, how big of an impact they made in Britain, that'd be awesome to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Britain and learning about British culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.